Okay, well, hi, Anna Bateman. It's great to have you here to share your successes with others. Can you talk about, I guess, share the organization that you're with and what you do for them?
Okay, I'm the tribal administrator for the Valdez Native Tribe in Valdez, Alaska.
Awesome. And that is how we met because I'm also in Valdez.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to get started with the most recent wins that you've had,
Okay.
which there's a whole pile of them. So I don't know if you have that list up, but can you share the grants that you pulled through recently?
So we were recently awarded a $901,000 HUD ICDBG grant, and that's for tribal development, tribal community development. And what we're using that funding for is to build a tribal elders wellness center.
Awesome. And is that going to fund it entirely, or are you going to have a different grant application as well, or grant to help kind of close the gap?
No, that's going to fund, it's for the construction of that Elders Wellness Center, so it's for the building itself. And, now that we know we were awarded that and we're going to be doing that, I'll be looking for other funding sources for programs and supplies, equipment, all that.
Okay, awesome. But that's cool that you can actually cover construction entirely with that one big.
Yeah, and that was one of the things is it's a tribal community development block grant, and it is specifically for construction, but there's a lot of separate certain kind of rules and regulations that we had to make it work. Like first of all, it's for typically for well, not typically, it is for low income.
Mhm.
And Valdez doesn't always meet that criteria because in the census, it shows that people who live in Valdez are far above the, median income level. But that really isn't true. Those stats are old and need to be redone. And hopefully now with the new census, um, you know, that will be reflected correctly. So what we had to do was target the project towards a, a group that is typically considered low income, and that is elders in this case.
Did you have to prove that with any other data, or did you have to do anything else to kind of illustrate, yes, we're meeting that low to medium income household threshold?
No, we actually did do a survey that had to meet certain criteria, but we didn't get all of the responses in time, and so they consider elders like a predetermined
Hmm.
group that met their criteria.
Okay, awesome. Sweet. Okay, nice. And then, so that's about, how much was that for?
No, well, the grant from HUD itself was 800,000, but then we got in kind from North Pacific Rim Housing Authority for 101,000,
Cool.
and they're going to be the ones doing the construction.
Awesome. Okay. So that's, yeah, 800,000 in grants. And then what were some of the other grants that you just won as well?
Okay, so we just recently got a $5,000 grant from, oh, I'm sorry, a $10,000 grant from BIA for resilience, tribal resilience, and that includes what it's for mostly is travel and training.
Hmm.
So there was that $10,000 grant. We also got a DOJ grant for $720,000 to build, to first of all, to start a victim services program and then build a men's shelter.
Hmm.
And then also they just pre-awarded us an additional $400,000. I don't think I got to tell you that yet, Mary.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so
For what?
yes,
Like, how is that added in? Was that?
they just sent, they had some more set aside funding and I had to apply for it, and then they pre-awarded it, and now I have to send them over the budget and a more detailed narrative.
Cool. And that will tie into the men's shelter?
Yes, and the
Awesome.
victim services program. So it'll stretch it out from a 3-year to a 5-year program, and we'll be able to also, the first grant has program manager and advocate employees and pays for their salaries. But now this one, we're going to put in a case manager.
Awesome.
So yeah, so
Okay, so I don't even know if I can do the math to keep up with you because these are like serious bills. So 800 and then a 700. So
and a
we're already at
400,
1.5, 1.9 plus with the
and
10th
and
grant.
then 10, another 10, and then I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, you are because you told me
I don't,
2.1. I thought was the
I don't know.
total. Yeah, that's what a wonderful.
I know it's. I'm so lucky. We're so lucky, because I think the reason it's working is because we're finding grants that are exactly what we need.
Mhm.
And I think that's conveyed in the narrative and, in the statistics that we send over in our data, it shows that, oh yeah, they do need that. So it
Yeah,
works out.
100%. So,
Yeah.
I guess what would you say you took our course, Grant Writing from Start to Funded, even though you have so much experience,
Yeah.
so much. But I'm curious, like, what was there anything that helped you from the course that helped with these proposals?
Yeah. So when I lived in Nevada, I wrote grants for my farm
Hmm.
myself, but the grants that I wrote in Indian country, I wrote as a team, or I wrote part of a grant, and then my work was always reviewed, and I had grant writers right there helping me, and um, so I'm familiar with the process. But your course made it so that I could do it by myself, and really polished my what I knew how to do. It polished all those steps. For instance, the budgeting. You know, it's all great and fine to be able to write the narrative, but you have to write it based on your budget. And that was a great tip that you taught me, was to write your budget first. And
Hmm.
that has greatly helped me with my narratives, because before I was kind of writing the narratives blind because I wasn't in charge of the budget like the tribal financial office was, and so we knew like what the total figure was and kind of how it was broken down, but not specifically. But so now that I get to write the budget first, then the narrative is like a breeze, it's like, okay, and I can refer back to the budget and say, oh yeah, yeah, we need this and this, and it just all falls into place way better.
Awesome, cool. That's really cool feedback.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really liked too that you taught me was, and I learned this in a writing class before about writing other things, but you reiterated it. When you write a narrative, just write, and then you can go back and edit it and polish it up because you're going to anyways. But just at first, just write it out, you
Mhm.
know? So that
Yeah.
helped a lot too. Oh my gosh, there's so many things in your class that help me. I like, oh my God, and it's just one thing is just so much fun, is knowing that there's other people out there that speaks you speak the same lingo,
Mhm.
and we understand that, because not everybody likes to write grants. Surprise, surprise. I mean, I love writing them, you love writing them, and so that helps, knowing that there's other people that like to write grants.
Yeah, because
Fun.
otherwise it's quite a lonely business, especially
It's
if you're.
very lonely. It is, especially when are in the zone and you're working on your narrative, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh my goodness, am I crazy? What is going on here? But it's worth it. And I always knew it was worth it because we got to do amazing projects before that I was part of the grant team.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to these, getting to put these grants into play. We just hired our program manager for the victim services office. We hired our advocate. We just got our vehicle. I just brought it home from Anchorage. And,
Sweet.
so I mean, it's all working. We're actually in the system, drawing down the funding, spending the money, hiring the people, getting approval from Washington, D.C. that, yes, that person's resume is a good fit, go ahead and hire them, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you, are you managing the grant management as well, and administration?
Yeah. So I, I don't have anybody else here. We have a small staff, and so I am doing all the management of the grants. Which I was going to ask you, when are you going to teach a grants management program?
That's why I was asking you. I was like, did you learn from anyone really good? Because we do need that covered. I am not an expert on it, but I want to find a superstar that is.
Right? We should find one. I know I have a friend who's a grants management expert back in Nevada. She's really good.
Cool.
I
Send
could
them.
give you her name. I could give you her name if you
You
wanted.
totally should. I mean, it's not something we're in like a race to do, but we need to produce it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
But I
because
have
for
to, yeah,
sure there's
the right
a
person.
lot of tricks to that trade, boy.
Holy smokes. Yeah, totally. I would not be good on that side of the equation. I got the creative side of the brain. Thankfully, you've got both.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Now, back in the day, they used to fund you and let you go, turn you
Yeah.
loose. But now they have a lot of support. Um, for example, and if it doesn't come straight from the funder, they have outside sources that they've hired that, and it's always an option. They don't make you work. At least I haven't ran across a grant where they make you work with these management teams. It's an option, but I always say yes. I always sign up and say, please help me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because because there's just always some little thing that you would never have thought of, and they help you stay on track, and it's cool. It helps them keep their job, and
Oh, yeah,
works out good.
absolutely. You can't possibly become an expert on every little federal rule and everything.
No, and I don't want to. It's too hard. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like the DOJ grant, I have two teams. I have a financial management team for that grant and also just the program management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Cool. That's great. So, what would you want an aspiring grant writer or someone that's just getting started to know?
To give yourself enough time to do it. Don't try to do it at the last minute because it's not going to work out and it's going to make you, at least I've done that before and it's a nightmare. And so it's like what we all have nightmares about, not having enough time, or and just take your time because you're going to make mistakes. Like, for instance, here's a rookie mistake. I know you shared a mistake that you made. This is my rookie mistake. So I'm up here in Alaska, new, and I write this great DOJ grant, right? And I think it's all that in a bag of chips. And I submit it Alaska time, and it was due Eastern Standard Time.
Oh no, after all that work, but because it was at the last minute. Shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I never even thought of it. So stupid, and totally rookie. But luckily, by the grace of God, they were kind, and I explained myself, and they're like, we'll let it go this time, and we'll go ahead and let you submit it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
That's
almost
amazing.
missed. I almost missed getting that 720. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Oof.
so
Um,
if you
yep.
give yourself enough time, then you won't, make yourself cry.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's the whole point of learning from others is like it's otherwise you have to make every rookie mistake yourself and like who has time for that or the perseverance to get off the ground when you make that many mistakes. It takes a lot of perseverance to stick with it if you don't.
Yeah. And I still am, like, I have that second narrative due in 5 days, and I'm still working on it. I'm still polishing it up, and I'm always working on getting it done sooner.
Hmm.
I think I don't know, at least to me it tricks me when it says due on. Well, you can turn it in before,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep. No,
uh,
definitely. I think it's sort of like speed limit. Speed limit 65, but it doesn't mean you have to drive 65. It just means
mhm.
that's the speed limit.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, totally. Um, I guess I'm trying to think of what other good questions I could ask you that would help other students. Um,
Oh, and I know one of the things that you teach is you know, look at the amounts that that they're awarding, like how many people are getting awarded and how much is it really that you're working for? Because if there's a grant that's worth, 200,000 and there's one that's worth 20 and they require the same amount of work, I'm for going and working for the 200,000,
All day long.
because
Mhm.
it's too hard not to get the most that you can get.
Yeah, and to your
I
point.
mean, sometimes those $20,000 grants are good though. That's what you need. Like we needed some more training money, so I wrote that one with the BIA, and as you can imagine, it was ridiculously hard for $10,000. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So that, and I kept thinking, why did I even try for this? This is too much for a little amount. But then we did get it. So, oh yeah, I know what the other one is. We got a $45,000 grant for paycheck protection,
Mm.
a COVID related one. So there's that. Um, yeah. So, and then I have a $65,000 grant application out for a cultural program.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, but now I just got appointed to the museum board of directors here in Valdez.
Oh, cool. I thought about getting on that board. Nice.
You should totally. And so now I'm looking for those kind of grants.
Oh,
Museum,
good. I saw that, they had published that RFQ to hire for, well, design and grant writing. So I was on a team that was responding, but I actually pulled myself from the team.
oh, shoot.
Oh yeah, they didn't apply. Actually, the RFQ hasn't been I think the city pulled back on it and they haven't actually got it out um, in the public domain again. But
I
I
haven't,
don't know.
I don't know anything about that.
I just because you're creative too, maybe I'll just plant the seed here. And I don't know if Maggie would ever go for it, but I just felt like the museums that I've most loved, they had a reason to bring me in all the time as a young person. So they usually have a really good restaurant. So you're just going there for lunch. And then
Right?
and the other idea I had was, because, remember Maggie's project, like the kind of this
Yeah.
historical theater and a cafe. And I was like, gosh, that could just be in the museum. And that actually drives traffic. And then you learn about museum programming and you go more often.
I
Right?
love that idea.
Yeah, cool. I was like, I don't know if like, because it was when I was kind of calling around to like talk to people that were on the board. I was like, I don't know if they're going to be open to like something this different.
No, I think it's a great idea. You know what is so funny is our favorite museum, my husband Curtis and mine, is the Museum of the Mountain Man.
What? In Pinedale? Yeah, no way.
Our two oldest children live in Wyoming because we're from Nevada, and my
Yeah.
husband and our oldest son and then our oldest daughter's husband worked at a gold mine in Nevada, but got they had to let some people go. So our son and our son-in-law moved to Wyoming.
No
So
kidding.
my husband, he used to be like in the Mountain Man Association of the Rocky Mountains or whatever it's called, and he loves that stuff. And so when they moved to Wyoming, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna have to go to the Museum of the Mountain Man," and so we did. And that town that you're from is charming. It's so beautiful there.
I know it is so beautiful. It's true. And yeah, especially right now, because it's let's see, this is a transition time at the ranch, right? Like they got the cattle to high country like right now. So it's kind of fun to see all the pictures of what's going on. But
Uh,
so my mom worked a lot with the museum. The museum actually paid my mom to write the 100-year history of Pinedale.
oh wow,
And it's a super, super cool book.
that's cool. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Sometime I'll bring a copy up. Like it's down in the lower 48, but I'll bring it back so you can thumb through it.
Yeah, I told Curtis, guess where Meredith's from? And he's like, no way. And I'm like, way.
Way, man, way, totally. You'll have to tell him this too. This is a good story. So if he likes trapping, so
He does.
my great uncle Gottfried Ram, he was a Swiss guy. He had 5 cabins from kind of like by Fremont Lake to Green River Lakes. And when the Forest Service went through their phase of like burning cabins down, most of them disappeared, but they could not find the fifth cabin. That was the one up the Upper Green. And so I'd always seen this old photograph of my dad at the cabin. And I kept bugging him about it and bugging him about it. And I ended up meeting this guy in Spokane at like a educational night at a bar, this old timer. And he's like, I've been to that cabin. I used to hike.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, it's got to be the same one. There's not like multiple cabins up there. And he's like, I would do anything to go back there and see it. And so he actually drove to Pinedale, and I was like, okay, Dad, like I got this guy. He wants to go to the cabin. So that was the impetus to get him to take us out. So we horseback rode out there, and the river is super duper duper deep. But in this one spot is like a gravel bar. You could just walk right across it, and the cabin was across the river. But you would not know that, right? And it's right at the headwaters of the Green River. So we got to go see it, and it had like all these old like lard cans with lard still in them.
Wow.
Yeah, and the roof had collapsed, but you could still kind of see the structure and where the corrals were for the horses and stuff.
Oh, cool.
It was super, super, super cool. And he did that through, and he built almost all the trails in the Wind River Range because he loved dynamite. So like those trails are amazing for horseback trails. They don't build them like that anymore. You know, they're
Wow.
built for just hikers that can go straight up.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the trapping story. And I ended up having some paintings done of that cabin and where like kind of the view from it, so I'd always remember like where to go to get to it.
Mm,
Yeah,
that's
it
cool.
turned out really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. We stayed up there on Half Moon Lake.
Yes, at that
I
lodge.
love, yeah,
So nice.
yeah, really fun. Yeah, we had our three grandkids, Grace, Grant, and Grady, with us, and it was really fun.
The
Yeah.
that I'm gonna stop recording. Oh, I guess I won't. Yeah, we can just I will in a second. But yeah, so my mom's birthday was over Christmas, and the half moon freezes clear often.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it froze clear, and it was like the most magnificent sunset, oranges and reds, and like everybody's out ice skating on the lake. It was super.
Oh, man, that's so cool. Wow, what a beautiful place you're from.
Yeah, and so get this, Alex, she actually lived in Pinedale with my cousin.
What?
That's how her and her husband met. Like she was just the school counselor going to work there for 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny. These like strong Pinedale
Wait,
Belize connections.
yeah. Did you know her when she lived there then?
No,
Wow, how crazy is that? That's weird, huh?
yeah, totally weird. Small world, right?
Yeah, it is way weird.
Well, do you have anything? I guess anything else that you would want to add?
I just, don't give up and
Yeah.
be specific about what you want. Oh, I know what I was thinking is, I was thinking, what's really important is that you know your agency that you're working for, who you're writing for, because there's often like a lot of little things that you wouldn't think of are important, but then in the grant, when you're looking for grants and when you're writing them, if you know who you're working for really well, then it's easier to find ones that will work.
Yes, right. And having narrative content that speaks to them. So HUD,
Yeah,
emphasizing low income, EDA, and emphasizing jobs, new jobs.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Cool. Well, thank you so much for this amazing interview.
You're welcome, Meredith.